welcome to Casting Points. We're glad that you're checking in with us once more. Wow, we are getting into our episodes. We can actually start labeling episodes at this point, Matt.
Oh, yeah. We're really getting into it. We're like pros at this point.
We're so professional. It's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable.
Anyway, we're here today, and Joey is not behind the control buttons today. We have the very necessity of Matt Parker running things. So we're glad that Matt is there. And then we have a very special guest. I've actually been looking forward to this interview, this talk, for quite some time. We knew that Jenn was on our list. I wanted to reach out to her and see if we could get her to be here for a podcast. And we have her. So today we have a special guest. Welcome, Jenn Douma.
Thank you, Mr. Tim.
It's great to have you. Some of you may have seen Jenn if you've been around the church very long. They've been coming. Oh, how long have you been coming to the Point Church?
Mm-hmm. It's been over a year now.
Over a year.
Last summer.
And she's actually been on stage multiple times. Did a whole sermon for us.
Yeah.
Towards the end of July. So, yeah, she has been getting. I would say beginning around, but that doesn't sound right. She's been making her way known in the church for a while, so
she's on the fast track.
She's on the fast track around
Please
here.
edit that out for my husband.
Right. But no, this is an exciting day because I know your story.
Yeah.
And I know God's story in that, and it's so amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You're married. You already mentioned Greg.
Yeah.
You have this big hunka chunk of love.
I do for almost 19 years now. So that's
Nice.
a long time.
It
I mean,
is.
I know I look only like 28, but I mean, 19 years.
Yeah.
Do that.
I wasn't going to say it.
Right. I mean, that's good. For your own safety, I could still reach you. Yeah. So I have a husband, 5 kids. That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. We have 2 the good old fashioned way and 3 via foster care. So
Fostering. I know that's a big part of your guys' life.
it is.
Your story.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about where did you grow up then? Did you grow up in this area?
Kenosha.
Yeah. Born and raised.
Born and raised. Cheesehead.
Nice.
That's it.
Cheeseheads.
Yeah.
I ran into some of those this last weekend.
I heard
My
you
wife and I
did.
were in Door County, and the Packers were playing, and we stopped by a little local pub, and I decided to don my Chicago Bears.
How'd that go for you?
Not so well.
Not so well.
Not so well.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they're hardcore.
They are very hardcore. I thought that at some point we were going to rumble, but it didn't necessarily happen. But I got a lot of comments.
Local
Wildly
pastor.
discriminated.
But my wife was like, "Would you quit taunting them?" And I'm like, "This is so much fun. They're easy. They're easy. They take it so serious up
Very
there."
sensitive people, those Packers fans.
Yes.
So
we
were you
are.
a Packers fan? I mean, you're right there on the border. Because
Born and
Illinois-
raised in Wisconsin. I am. I'm Packer. Sorry. Do you want to renege your podcast invite?
No, we'll continue on. But
It's okay
I'm
for
just
now?
gonna do it a little differently.
The love
From
of
a
Jesus
distance.
stretches the breadth.
The love of Jesus
football fans.
compels me to forgive you and accept you.
There you go.
Oh, my
Right.
word.
So Jenn Douma, born and
Yes.
raised in Kenosha.
Born and raised.
Now, what about church history? I mean, did you grow up in the church, or what was it like in the Jenn Douma household?
Yeah. So born in church. Absolutely. Mom and dad brought me. I was there the Sunday morning, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, every VBS, every
Anytime
Sunday
the church
school,
doors were
every
open,
holiday.
Here we were on
Church
the front
cleaning.
row.
Yeah, there I was, you know. So
Yeah,
born, raised, and kept in the church.
nice. Same church? Move around?
For like my whole childhood, I was in the same church, just a small little gospel church in Kenosha called Gospel Chapel at the time.
Oh, it really was a
And,
gospel church.
It really was.
Even in their
Just
name.
one of those.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was a small church, but
Yeah.
very family-ish.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about how you and Greg became a thing.
Yeah. So
I shouldn't say a thing. That's
A
not right. I
thing.
mean, how you came into a relationship.
I got around and ended up with him. Like,
Wait.
right? Is that kind of?
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
How he became so lucky.
So lucky.
There you go.
Blessed. He's a
Blessed.
blessed
Brownie
man.
points right there.
Right.
He's blessed. No, so actually, I love to travel after high school. I loved to travel. So I always had a passport, current, ready to go, ready to get out of Dodge. And I've been all over the place, all over many countries. And there was this mission trip coming up, and my parents were a part of it. They're heading to Nicaragua.
All right.
And so all of a sudden, like a month out, a spot opened up. Some lady couldn't go. And I'm like, I have a passport. I haven't been that far yet, that far down south. And I was like, I'll go, So just like that, within 4 weeks. And there was this big, handsome, lovely man. And it was one of those things like
this guy was standing beside Greg, or
yeah.
I'd watch out, Tim. I think he's got like 3 inches on you.
Dude.
Just 3?
The guy's huge.
Guys,
So, but anyway, but this is
I'm in so much trouble.
you really are. Well, actually, I don't know if he does podcasts, so you may be safe. So, but yeah, he was heading on the trip, and I already had him pegged for one of those player type guys, 'cause he's a nice looking guy, likes to work out and stuff, and I'm like, I want nothing to do with that, nothing, and got other plans. So,
Right.
yeah, that was it. Nicaragua love, baby.
Nice. Nice. So you came back, at some point you guys get married.
Yeah. So it was really that following year we got married, and we actually went back again for another trip together as husband and wife. So
Wow.
it was quick. We didn't waste any time.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That is very fun. So you're married, you're having kids, and how's life going? How was marriage treating you? How was life treating you at that time? I mean,
Yeah, so stressful, right? Anytime you add babies and you have difficulties and you're trying to figure out things, it's not all that fun travel the world
right.
kind of scenario. And I had a huge, ugly, nasty bout with postpartum depression. And left unchecked, it turned into something even bigger. Sure. So I ended up pretty much flat on my back, down, not able to really function at all in life.
Which wasn't you. I mean, you knew this, right?
Correct.
And you could tell there's
definitely something wrong.
So how did that affect, well, not only you, but your family, and how did that play out in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, to say the least. I think if anybody actually, if you've lived with it, if you've gone through it, it's a darkness. Mm-hmm. There is absolutely this darkness that you experience. And I mean, you do not even have a will to live, and when I'd look at my children, I would weep because I'm like, they just deserve so much better than this, and so it's scary stuff. Really scary.
So when was it? You talk about the darkness. When was it like the darkest? Do you remember like the darkest moments that you were in?
Yeah,
time?
I mean, it would definitely be when I was cutting to just try to alleviate some of that pain that you're feeling, like mentally. You're like, so you want to, equate it with something physically. And then just having lost that will to actually live. And because suicide is just so rampant in my maternal side of the family, I just figured that's the lot in life.
That was God's plan.
That was
the plan in life.
I guess.
Whether it was God's plan or not, it was just
right.
Your lot in life.
That was it. I had a good go the first 25 years, of life, and I was outgoing and fun and traveling, and then all of a sudden I'm in a mental hospital, and I'm like, all right, well,
how did I get here? Yeah.
Thankful for the good years anyway. Yeah, it was awful. It was pretty ugly.
Yeah, depression is such a terrible thing to go through.
It is,
and it takes you to different places, and you can kind of see yourself walking there, but there's nothing you can do to pull yourself out.
Right.
And obviously you were seeing the doctors and probably taking the medications, and ended up, getting help at a hospital at some point.
Yeah,
And,
more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ended up in the psych ward where they treat you, you know. I know they're there to help, but when you're already such a vulnerable, fragile person, shell of a person, being made to feel almost like a criminal on top of it is it's kind of
yeah.
it's kind of hard
Takes you
stuff.
to another level of low, I'm sure.
It does. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Embarrassing. You just don't like hush, hush, hush. You don't want anybody to know about it because there's definitely something just
Well, there's
wrong.
a big stigma with that in general, right? With depression or
Absolutely.
mental hospitals or mental disease and all these different stigmas that sometimes, we know that it's out there, but there's like a negative stigma,
Yeah.
especially when you're the one going through it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
so that doesn't help
No.
the depression or the
No.
anxiety.
And I think a lot of churches in general, they do a disservice to mental health because it's not talked about enough. It's not brought up enough. It's not normalized enough. Like you can still have faith in God and you know that heaven is your home, and you can still suffer mental illness and you can still suffer with suicidal thoughts, and there's a way to break through from that bondage, but it happens to even the strongest Christians.
Absolutely.
It can happen just like anything else.
And you did have some major breakthroughs,
Yeah.
which is amazing. You praise God for. I know that you have come so far. I mean, you said like those first 25 years, it was great. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
How did I end up here? So where are you at today with all that?
Yeah. Well, I would say it is still always there. I think unless some super miracle that it's completely wiped away, I think I will always have that proverbial thorn in the flesh,
Right.
Right. And I'm okay with that because it's actually this reminder of that I am very broken and simple human being, and that every single thing that God does through my life or through Operation Outpour, it's definitely not me. And for me to be able to be open and vulnerable with people about this,
Right.
they know. They're like, okay, I've struggled with depression. I know that's not something you can just do on your own.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's still there. I still have issues and struggles. But I've been, I don't want to say trained. I don't know if that's the right word, but through the years, you have this maturity in your relationship and your walk with the Lord.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's just right there every time. And I know that he'll continue to do that.
It's that even though type of mentality that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, God, you're not going to heal me, even if you don't heal me, even if I have to walk through this battle of depression, I'm still going to be faithful. I'm still going to follow you. I'm still going to be there. And that's the tough choice, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's where I wasn't strong enough, even in my faith, even as a grown adult still, I wasn't strong enough in my faith to say that, okay, today is very hard, but I know that he is still good.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that he's going to walk through this with me. And I know that we're going to come out victorious. I wasn't strong enough to say that. I wasn't mature enough yet in my faith to say that.
Was there a point where that turned the corner? You said that there was a point in your life where that just wasn't there. Ready to give up, wasn't seeing God in this.
Right.
And now you do. You mentioned Paul's concept of the thorn in the flesh, where he just prayed, God, take this away, take this away, take this away. And it never did happen. I think those were seasons in Paul's life. I don't think that was just a one-time deal where Paul's like,
no,
hey, God, take this away. I think he probably went through prayer, fasting, all the different things that we
begging and pleading
of seasons, taking this away. And God never did. And, to him, it was a revelation of, like you said, humility, right?
Yeah.
Of making sure that even though this isn't going to go away, that I still know that God is with me. And it was kind of like he had that revelation, right? At some point, he was just like, this is why this is happening in my life. And so was there a point in your life where you kind of did the same thing, where you're just like, I'm kind of hopeless?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, wow, even though I'm still struggling, I have hope.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it right right smack dab in the middle is the humility piece of it, is because even though I was born and raised in church and leading worship and, doing Sunday school and all that stuff as you go, as you grow in the church, basically, I was so prideful and so arrogant of a person, thinking like, oh, look at these good choices I'm making. And look at, I'm 21 years old. I'm not out partying on my birthday. I'm, getting ready for a Bible study or whatever it is,
right.
but you have this level of arrogance that has no place in front of God. No place.
Kind of that law versus love, or law versus grace
Yes.
mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
And I really think that I had to just experience that ugliness to realize that there's no place for the pride. There's no place for arrogance, thinking that you're better than anybody else because you go to church or because you do all these good things or nice things. And there was a time that I just laid flat on my face in my living room, which is ironic because that's where Operation Outpour sort of was my living room.
Right.
And I literally just wept and cried out to God to lift this, help me, save me. I didn't want to have that same ending,
Sure.
with as my aunts and uncles, with suicide and all the different forms of suicide.
Which was a really change, I'm guessing, in your prayer life.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
It was.
I mean, it sounds different from your story. It was heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me.
Right.
To, wait a second, I don't want this legacy
Right.
to continue.
Right.
Which is a totally different prayer.
Right.
Right?
It's like it's got to stop.
Yeah.
That.
God, this has to stop in our family.
Yeah.
It's going to stop here.
Yeah, absolutely. And my
Amazing.
kids do deserve a mom, and thinking that you got to do whatever you got to do to get yourself better and help, but keeping it the priority that God is the one that is going to be able to bring you through this, not any one other thing.
Right. So there's a lot of helps out there.
There is.
God is
there is
the backbone of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't have that faith piece, I don't know how they can come through that without turning to him, because I'm telling you what, it was just very dark days,
So if someone is sitting here watching this today, they're struggling, right? They're depression, anxiety, maybe even suicidal thoughts. What would be your number one recommendation? Obviously seeking help, maybe even immediately.
Yeah.
But who do they turn to? And then connect that, because that's the practical part, but then connect that to the spiritual part. So if somebody's watching today, what would you say to them?
I would say get on your face right away. Get on your face before God and ask him for that help and for that prayer. Absolutely. Because there's stuff going on in the spiritual realm, the spiritual aspect of this that I don't think even if you could, you would want to see it, what was going on,
Right.
honestly, and I believe that with everything in me, that was absolutely, if I could have actually seen, what was happening, that fight for someone's soul, I would say just put everything else aside and just cry out to him and ask him for help, and then ask him for those practical steps of what's next. Who is my safe person? Who can I really trust and that will walk through this with me? Right. And it may be a pastor or a friend or a relative or somebody, but to take you through those steps of getting help, because it's such a huge part of our society, and I'm thankful that there is more and more and more being said about it. But
there is, and
still
we're
not
learning more and more about it. But I think we're still a long way.
We have a ways to go.
Yeah, we have a ways to go in the process.
Absolutely.
I think we're learning more and more, and so that reliance upon God is so critical. And I would say if there are people watching right now, and you're in this, there's depression, there's anxiety, maybe even suicidal thoughts, reach out to us.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some links at the bottom where you can contact us and reach out to us. and talk.
Yeah.
Let's help. That's what we're here for. We may not necessarily have all the answers, but we can definitely point you in the right direction, and we care. And I think that's the other thing is just having some people know that you're cared for,
Yeah.
right? That you know that there's people who genuinely care for you, and I think that's important too, right?
Yeah.
That support.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there was this turnaround in your life, where you, let's put it back on us, because a lot of times God's just waiting for us to be faithful
And obedient.
and
Yeah.
obedient,
Mhm.
right? So there was this point where this happens in your life. And so what was the turnaround? What took place after you're just like, okay, God, I'm giving you this, and there started to be some peace in your life? And how did God start working in your life from that point?
Just that stirring, I guess, if you will, of what used to just have me be content to just kind of slide by or ride by. I was like no longer able to be content with, whether it was seeing a need or hearing, because I was always so, consumed with my own hurt in my own situation, and
Right.
and where I was always needing all the help. I was always like, just sucking the life out of people, trying to keep my head above water, and all of a sudden it's like this, he wanted this shift to, instead of inward, outward.
Yeah.
And that is where it started. And it's like just that desire it kept building and building and building. And I remember I was so excited, and I would just sit down with anybody that would listen to me, and I'd ramble on, and I would just tell them what God has done. And I'm like, I have to just do more. I have to do more. I don't even know what that looks like, but I have to do more. And they're just kind of like, okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to
Put
pray
the
for you.
brakes on.
Do more.
But that's an interesting way of putting it. I love that. I always I call it often, and Matt, you may have some thoughts on this too, but I always called it like making the corner, right?
Mhm.
Because at some point it's about me,
Yep.
right? Me. Even in the early stages of your relationship with Jesus, right? It's what I'm going to get out of this relationship. It's what I'm going to receive. But at some point, it's like turning the corner and going, okay, now what do I give?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And it's not because we're necessarily drawing more love out of God or more acceptance out of God or more forgiveness out of God by what we do, but it's out of response of knowing what God has done for us, right?
Exactly.
And so it's like making this corner of going, it's no longer about me, but what we can do to serve others,
Right.
For the cause of Christ.
Right.
And that's huge.
Just a few weeks ago, we talked about that analogy on Sunday
Mm-hmm.
about the boats from the Titanic,
Right.
filling them up.
Uh,
I think that makes for an awesome parallel, especially when you talk about things like mental health,
Yeah.
because people like to use boats as analogies when they talk about your mind and how your ship is sinking and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I think
Right.
you can just parallel a lot of those different analogies together to makes a little bit more sense. Hop out of your boat and get in mine, because it's way more stable
Yeah.
than yours is.
Yeah. And
Referring to the love.
And even in that analogy, which I love, is it's at some point we're all rowing away, trying to find safety, right? And then you see in the distance there's people that need help.
Yeah, you've got to know when you're supposed to turn around.
Okay, I got to turn this boat around because there's people over here that need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that. So that's that stirring. So God created this stirring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Do more to help others.
Do more. Get yourself off your mind.
Yeah, right. Which is so like the antecedent of depression, which is so much self-focused.
Yeah.
To, hey, think of others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
like I didn't have time to be depressed really because I was just so busy. Like, okay, how are we going to do this? And how are we going to help this one? And it was just, and again, not to make light of it to the point like it's just magically gone, because I still have
I remember that from your sermon. It's like, this may be something that you wrestle with.
Yeah.
Your entire life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And again, it is what it is, and I'm okay with it because I know He's faithful.
Yeah.
He's faithful, and I'm rock solid in that.
And the amazing thing is, and I love that. I don't love that you have depression. I don't love you have anxiety. I don't love the things that you've had to go through and may still continue to go through those. But what I love is that God is using you in tremendous ways, even with all the stuff that's
Right.
going on.
Right.
Right. And I think that gives hope to so many people like such as myself to think, even in the things that I have to go through or the things that I feel like I'm struggling with or whatever, that God can still use
Yeah.
even someone like me
Yeah.
to accomplish his will.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of where Operation Outpour was born out of, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same living room floor,
Same floor. Same living room.
same
address.
posture.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was just I had talked a couple friends into hearing me out and be like, I actually want to start something where we are just on a mission to love people on purpose.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it in the most practical ways. Because to me, that is like the best way to tell people that Jesus loves them is to show up with like a bag of groceries and tell them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like practical.
Using the felt needs to end up sharing the spiritual needs.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Meeting
Absolutely.
people where they're at.
Yep.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
So you went on a long journey. That journey,
That's long.
we can sit back and knock it out in a few sentences now, but that was quite a journey from your living room to
Yeah.
where you're at in Maribelais, Haiti right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, you think about 15, 16 years is when I was first diagnosed, and Operation Outpour was born almost 11 years. This fall is 11 years,
11 years.
that we've been around now. So, and you're talking about 5 years of just darkness,
Yeah.
of just that ugly, I just don't want to live anymore,
Mhm.
And then even when it did start, it was just kind of, there was that confusion even in my marriage of like, you're too fragile. I don't want you to take on anything right now. I don't, and it was trying to find that balancing act
Sure.
of,
Sure.
okay, I still have to take care of myself and make sure I go to my doctor's appointments and make sure this and that, but yet still be obedient to like this other stuff that
This
God
calling.
has
Yeah.
put on my life, obviously. So,
Right.
I mean, now it's crystal clear, and he totally is like, okay, I get it. It took
Right.
him a while,
Yeah.
typical guy, right? It's all good.
So Operation Outpour took off, and actually you were hooked up with some other organizations, and again they can actually listen to a sermon. When was Ron Watson here?
Oh, that would have been September of
September.
last
So
year.
again, there's another sermon online
Yeah.
when Ron Watson was here, and kind of tells that tale, if you will, how you guys ended up meeting.
Yeah.
But Ron Watson is like the man on the ground.
He is.
He is the man. I could
is.
just
He's
stop.
so cool.
He is
I call him
one
the
of coolest-
mayor.
Like genuinely,
Yeah.
I was so.
I want to be
excited
Ron
to meet
Watson.
him.
I know,
Whenever
right?
he
When I
came.
grow up, right?
When I grow up, I want to be Ron Watson.
Wants to be Ron Watson.
Seriously. I mean, Ron is just like, he's a little bit of everything, everything that
He's done
He's so
everything.
he's done everything. I thought you meant he's done. Like he has nothing
No.
left to
I
do.
mean, like the dude has done everything. He was like,
Yeah.
I would ask him a
He's
question
kinda
about
had
Haiti, and
to,
I'm like,
though.
well, I did this.
Yeah,
I
I-
ran this, or
I
I
did
started
this,
this, or
and I just barely turned 40,
Yeah.
but I've already done all this stuff, and we're like,
yeah, it's
so,
amazing.
It is so cool to see how God does that.
And he's a Christian man. And again, he's got the same mindset, which I love how God brought you two together.
Yeah.
Because he has the same mindset of what can I do? I've been shown, I've been given so much.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
He's a Haitian, but he's been given so much opportunity with education. Education is so important. He had opportunities to come to the States and learn, and then bring some of the things that he learned here back there and incorporate them. And he was able to actually make money, and then he poured it back into his community.
In his community. Yep. And reaching others, helping others, doing what he could at any given time. And instead of just building up his, empire, if you will, and he worked hard for it. He could have done that.
He's one of the hardest working guys I've known.
And he said it was like, no, we have to go outwards with it. God didn't bless us to just hoard it all. It was like, what else can we do now? And so
Here's a guy who paid for out of his own pocket
How did
electricity even
how did
to
that
his own
connection
town.
How did you guys make that connection? How did you
Oh.
meet Ron?
This is a good story.
This is a good story. I mean, how long is this podcast, though? I mean, I don't want
it's kind of.
Yeah, we're only at 30 minutes, guys.
The story is
It
pretty
is.
lengthy, but
It's
it is a pretty phenomenal,
fantastic.
funny story.
Yeah.
The hated Ron Watson.
I
start
was
with.
so mad at Ron. Like, I assumed by the name Ron Watson, I thought he was just some like white guy sitting up in a business somewhere. Like, that was a part of this nonprofit thing I was looking for, because when I first got to Haiti, it was just I was just searching. And so I ended up with an orphanage. And I mean, honestly, that could be a whole nother podcast for a whole
you
nother
could.
day.
I mean, this story is
of
pretty phenomenal.
or orphan stuff. But yeah, I do you want me to share, or do you want to wait and hold on to that one? Because
Let's hold on to that one,
it is
because I
good.
think
It's really
that's a good teaser for when you're up.
Well, it is now because I don't even know, and now
Yeah.
I really want to know.
Oh my! But it
Yeah.
was kind of through that situation that you ended up meeting Ron.
absolutely,
But
it was
Ron-
exactly that situation. And God had plans, because he was dealing with Ron too at the same time. So he had to deal with both of our stubborn hearts before we could actually be in a place to be obedient and work together.
So Ron Watson is on her list, and I'm not talking about the good list. This is like the bad list. It's the naughty list.
This
It's like
is the Jenn Douma has her eyes on you,
Right.
and not in a good way list.
so when somebody said, "Hey, there's a piece of ground in Maribel, Haiti,"
Yeah.
and you meet with them, and you go to this meeting
Yeah.
to see about, because she had on her heart to build a school, right?
Yep.
So, and she was looking for property to do this, and so she found some. So you're at this meeting, right? If I'm getting this story
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
you're at this meeting.
At a meeting, smack dab up in the mountains in the countryside somewhere. And we're sitting around talking and just kind of discussing some logistical things and financial things. And, the bottom line was we had to have paperwork drawn up to say that Operation Outpour is going to be an actual entity, a business entity in Haiti. You don't want to sign up as a nonprofit, because that's a whole other
That's a whole other
can of worms
thing
and
you don't wanna get in-
don't
yeah,
want to mess
right.
with that. So being a school, you could be operating as a business. And
Sure.
he said, "Hey," he says, let me share this, paperwork with you, so you know what you have to mimic, basically,
Right,
with your own
right.
organization. And that's when I saw his name. I'm like, "You're Ronald Watson?"
Ronald.
Ronald
Who is Ronald Watson?
Watson? He's like, "You're Jennifer Douma?" I said, "I am still mad at you. I am
cannot
still
like
mad
you."
at you."
Cannot like you. You cannot be this great person helping out people in Haiti.
Great guy. And all of a sudden, I'm like, man, he's been on my list for 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months. I'm like, what a
And then God brings them together.
right in his living room.
So, which is amazing. And so that kind of was where the school was born.
Absolutely.
Out of that conversation,
Yeah.
getting to know Ron,
Yeah.
God changing
Absolutely.
both of your hearts and your minds towards each other.
He never had anything against me. He was just doing his job.
Well, he was like, "Who is this crazy woman that doesn't like me?"
Crazy
Because who doesn't like
chick.
Who doesn't like the nice Ronald Watson?
Ron Watson? Yeah. So
The mayor.
the mayor, Ron Watson, and the crazy thing, one story that sticks out in my mind about Ron Watson. This is just the kind of guy he was. Is that right there where they were at it's very poor. I mean, bathroom facilities, running water, nothing like that. And so he saw these kids that were unable to use bathroom facilities because they didn't have bathroom facilities, and it was just on his heart. We're going to build bathrooms. And so I think they built like 7 or 8, 9 bathrooms in that area just so the kids had a place to
Yeah.
disease, it's, and he saw it happening.
Yeah.
So that's just the kind of heart this guy had. He brought electricity to this community that never had electricity. Now they've brought clean water
Yeah.
to a community that never had clean water.
Yeah.
And that's just who Ron is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you bought some land.
Thankful for Ron. Yeah. Yeah, got some
with
land.
the help of Ron, who's
Yeah.
the man on the ground still.
We drained our account, and it was like, Lord, are you sure? Are you really, really sure? You want land and you want a school? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Signed it all over, and we had land, and we had not a dime to build a school.
So who owns that land technically?
Operation Outpour.
No, like who do you have to buy?
Oh, so land in Haiti is kind of like your bank account. So as families, they own portions of land, and then as they need money, they sell off chunks of it. So that's just kind of what it was. That's how the word around. It's not like realtors are us, It's just it's
Yeah, it's like
word of
Sadie's stuff.
mouth of, who knows who that has somebody interested in purchasing land.
Right.
So, and that's just kind of how we got wind of it.
Yeah.
But eventually you run out
Of land.
land.
Well, sure. Yeah. You better use it wisely.
Yeah.
So,
So it's a beautiful piece of land, not too far from a river,
right on the river.
right on the river.
Yeah.
So you started building a school, but you had no money. How did that happen?
So, in Haiti, they do everything totally different from what we would do here. We wouldn't dare have business plans to open up a restaurant or a store or school, and say, well, we only have money to dig the hole, and prepare for the foundation.
Right.
And yet, Ron is in my head. He's like, well, that's exactly what we have to do. And I'm like, what? We're just going to dig a hole? He's like, well, if that's all you have money for, then yes, we're going to dig the hole. And that's how every piece by piece by piece by piece, and just see how God would open different doors and avenues and people in different seasons. That's what we did. We did the foundation, and all of a sudden we were able to put up some walls.
There's a piece of this that I actually admire, from the standpoint of here in our American culture, what we will do is we'll go into debt
Yeah.
up to our eyeballs
Yeah.
that we probably can't afford and
Yeah.
can't pay off.
Yeah.
And we'll
Yeah.
build this. But there, I mean, it's you don't do.
Right. Right.
And so I love the fact that he's sitting here going, let's start.
Yeah.
Which is a total reliance upon God. at this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Right.
If you build it, they will come.
Right.
If you build it, he's going to provide. And
Right.
So it began.
That's it. It began wall by wall and door frame by door frame. And all of a sudden, 2019 is when we were able to officially open the school. And we had our first 4 classrooms.
Wow.
So still rebar sticking out of the top,
Right.
because we're going to add another floor.
Always leave that rebar
But
ready to roll.
leave
for
the
another
rebar,
year, right?
man.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
How many students did you guys have first year?
38.
30.
38. 2019. We started with 38 kiddos.
How many do you have now?
142. 142.
Yeah.
And we have room for more. We have, for this particular building, this is our primary school building. So there's 8 classrooms. We can take up to 200
That's
children.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And
Fantastic.
it's kind of fun as I watch what you guys are doing, which is you're almost like adding rooms with the grade levels as they go up
Yep.
every year,
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
it's just fun to watch the building process as the kids grow older
Yep.
as well.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch God provide for this.
It is. It's fun.
Another fun story with that, because just recently you guys opened up a nutrition center. You started feeding kids,
Yeah.
about a year ago? A little over a year ago.
Probably a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were down there on just one of our regular, vision, medical, come and see kind of trips. And some of the kids that were our students, and they're like, do you have any granola bars or anything on you? And I'm like, well, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. And it was just this, all of a sudden I'm like, it's more than 1, and it's 3, it's 5, it's 10. And I'm like, what's wrong with them? And they're like, well, they're hungry. They didn't eat before school, and they don't have a lunch with them. And so it was just at that time, then we just me and whoever, a couple people were with me, we just got on Facebook and we just did a live, and we're like, look, we need to raise enough money to where I can know that for the rest of the school year, these kids are going to at least have something. I don't care
So
if
you had
it's
these
just
kids coming
bread
to
and
school.
peanut butter,
Yeah,
something.
you had these kids coming to school
Nothing.
with nothing in their stomach. Can you imagine sending your kids to school today? You'd probably,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So they're coming to school. They're trying to learn.
Right.
Their brains probably aren't even working
No.
because there's
No.
and doing their best, knowing that they're not even going to get lunch,
Right.
right?
Right.
And they may not get much when they get home
Right. Right.
for evening. So
Right. And so we would have maybe half the kids or a little less than half would bring a little lunch box or lunch pail or something and have something. You know?
some of them did, but many of them did not.
Right. And they would sit there and watch the kids eat. And I'm just like, I said, Ron, why didn't you tell me this? He says, well, I already know money's tight and you know,
right,
and you're already, and I'm like, Ronald, it's like, you don't want to be back on my list, do you?
Right. I'm putting you back on the naughty.
You tell me. I'm like, these are our students. These are our kids. You know, I'm like, if I have to do another rummage sale, then that's what we'll do.
But the amazing part is what you said
figure
a
it
second
out.
ago is you just put the need out there.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you show these kids, and I'm telling you, just from being there, it's not a play on pictures. It's not a play on empathy. It's not a play on sympathy. It's not a play on the heartstrings. When you see the pictures of these kids, if it melts your heart, it's reality.
Yeah.
These kids just melt your
Yeah.
heart because they're hungry for the word. They're hungry for
Yeah.
education. They're hungry for attention. They're hungry for so many things that
Yeah.
you're able to provide through the money that is received through Operation Outpour. And so now you've got this nutrition center up.
Yeah. Just how that all happened is again, one God story after another, you know, and that wasn't even on my radar because I knew we needed to finish the last 2 classrooms for their
Right,
school.
right.
And I'm like, I can't take on both projects at the same
Can't
time.
do. You can only do so much.
Yeah.
And then God shows up and says, "Watch this."
Yeah. Right. I'm an
Which-
Ascendance High School senior to
Yeah.
all of a sudden have a passion for this ministry and she'll,
Which is so funny
she'll raise the
because
$25,000 needed.
she heard about the wells,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that was her main thing. She's like, "Oh, if we have 1, then 2's better, and if we have 2, then 3 could be better." And
Yeah.
we ended up talking to Ron, and he's like, "No, right now 2's really
is good for
but
right
what
now."
we need is this nutrition center."
Yeah.
And turns out this high school student who's amazing,
Yeah.
amazing family, amazing community, gathers around and is able to knock out this entire
Yeah.
nutrition center.
Yeah. In time to open for the school
Isn't that just
year.
like God?
It is. He says,
Show up
watch
and knock
this.
it. Watch this.
Yeah, he says,
Knock
you
it out of
watch
the park.
this.
That's
So
awesome.
I love it when he shows off.
That's
It's like my
awesome.
favorite. Because people stand in awe. And then again, back to my original testimony, they're like, oh, yeah, I remember you, in the mental hospital. And God is still doing these pretty cool things. So that's great. There's got to be something else there going on.
Right?
Yeah, you think?
You
think?
his strength, his power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is cool. So what's next for Operation Outpour? I mean, it sounds like there's nothing ever static there.
No.
Sounds like it's continually growing,
No.
continually doing things. What is next?
I'm telling you, we have a lot more
For Jenn
land.
Douma.
We have a lot more land to go,
Yeah.
Mr. Tim. So yeah, our next priority for next fall is, so you have to have a separate building for like your little guys. So
Okay. Sure.
they call it just a kindergarten building,
Mm-hmm.
but what we would say 3K, 4K, and kindergarten.
Right.
So they put those 3, 4, and 5-year-olds in their own separate building. For
Okay.
right now, we have them with our primary kids because, well, that's all we
That's
have.
all we have rooms for.
Right. And so this building, though, is going to be a necessity for next fall.
Okay.
And from what Ron is telling me, it's about 60, probably around 60, 70,000
Okay.
for this project.
Right.
So,
Right.
again, numbers always scare me, but it's just like, okay, all right,
Just
They
dealing
don't
with
scare Jesus.
They don't
I know.
scare God. He's like, watch this.
whatever.
But one thing I know about Ron is that he will overestimate on a building project, which
He will.
you know, I think that, which I like actually, because you don't get there and go, oh,
Yeah.
we're 10 grand short from finishing this project.
Yeah,
Now we have to
right.
go back to our donors and say, hey.
No, instead
And-
he says, "Hey, we have an extra $7,000 to put towards the next project."
Right.
You know,
right, which is good. I
and
appreciate that about Ron.
I do too.
And his construction is amazing.
Amazing. Like when we had the most recent earthquake that hit Haiti recently, I can't tell you how many people messaged me because they don't know like logistically where we are.
Right.
They just know that there's another earthquake. And I'm like, you know what? Even if there was an earthquake right in our area, I said it's built to withstand like a level 9.
Yeah.
And the ones that are leveling everything there are only like a 7
right
now.
Right.
So it is built with quality in mind.
Yeah, he knows how
every
to do it.
single
I mean,
project.
he's came and received the education from here in the States, even I think, on some of that,
Some
on
of
how
it
to build it.
Comes with that Ron guarantee.
The
Yeah.
Ron guarantee.
Yes.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. So a lot of things. So a lot of things happening. You're
Lots.
getting more kids.
Yeah.
You have capacity for more kids. You're
Yeah.
feeding kids. You're
Yeah.
sharing Jesus with these kids. It's changing the community.
Yeah.
Been there and seen that.
Yeah.
That the community is literally being changed. You're changing what's going to happen in the future for so many families.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the trajectory with education.
Yeah.
Education alone can change the trajectory of so many of these families. You're doing things to stimulate the economy
Mm-hmm.
in this area, and we love partnering with you because of that.
Thank you.
Just seeing what God is doing, and it's amazing because Jen, I look at you as somebody that I look as a mentor. I look at you as somebody that I look up to. I see what God is doing through you, and to know where you've come from, through some of the struggles you've come through, to see how God works through you. I just absolutely, positively love that. That I'm sure 19 years ago you would have been saying, what? I'm going to be who, where?
Oh no,
How?
I was so prideful. I would never even do anything like this.
Yeah.
Like actually like open up and talk and share, get up
Yeah.
in front of a crowd of people and cry. Like what? You know?
Right?
So
Yeah.
God is just so
So I love how
faithful.
you've been obedient to God through all of this. We haven't even mentioned some of the stuff you're doing. You've got a boutique.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Kenosha.
Yeah. We opened that up as a way
Free trade.
to support the school.
Right.
You know, we're like, okay, we have all this beautiful artwork that we bring home from Haiti and everybody goes nuts over it. And I'm
Right.
like, well, let's open up a store and, you know, and put it all there and people know what the mission is. And
And how God worked all that out to be able to open that. I mean, so
Yeah.
God has just been working through you in amazing ways, but you've been open to it.
yeah. Yeah.
You have to be open to it, to
Yeah.
walk through the doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not letting it'd be so easy, going back to your testimony, it'd be so easy with depression to say, I'm not going to walk through that door.
Right.
I'm
Right.
much more comfortable in my couch,
All right.
you know?
Right.
But to be able to just say, okay, God, open this door, or God opens a door, and then for you to be able to walk through it
Yeah.
is huge.
And if it's of him, he provides every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. And he sends me some of the sweetest, craziest friends that actually are like, okay, let's do it. You
Right.
know?
Right.
And
Let's
and I
go.
love that. One of those is Mindy Bycroft. So I love
Oh,
my
the
Mindy.
connection. There's another cool story. How we all came together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We'll have to share that at
That's
some point.
another story.
Yeah. But how can people get connected? How can people help out? I mean, it's one of those missions where I'm just telling you, I wish you could all go and see it.
Yeah.
I wish people could go and see it, to build trust with it, to just see the impact that Operation Outpour is making into this community. But how can people help? If somebody's watching today going, wow, I would love to be part of that.
Part of it. Yeah.
How do people get engaged?
I mean, sponsorship is a
Sponsorship.
big part of what we do.
So when you're
Because-
sponsoring the kids, you're sponsoring the family, sponsoring the school. What do you
So
sponsor?
you're sponsoring the child, which and then allows us to pay for all the salaries, the teachers, the food, the security, the gardener. I mean, every entity that is around the school and making it run
Right.
comes from sponsorship.
Sponsorships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we
So
don't
that's
have
important,
enough
right?
sponsors, to make all the ends meet, then we do this extra fundraising and just, find other ways. But
Sure.
we're not turning anyone away. So that's not an option.
Well, the amazing thing to me is you stop and think about it. Matt, you've got like 27 kids of your own.
I have
right?
way too many kids.
Yeah.
I say I have 4 too many.
4.
Four
have
too
4
many.
Yeah, it's 4.
Hard, I know.
But so, Matt, you think about this, and you've got young kids, and I have a couple of young kids at home, and you think $50 a month per kid? I'm sitting here going, ain't it?
Yeah,
Not to send them to school, not to
no.
all the things,
Feed them.
education, and
I wish my
care.
kids only cost me $50. This sounds like a bargain.
Right?
I send my kids to Haiti. You guys are taking good care of them.
You got
See?
right, yeah. Put them on the plane, man. We'll
Yeah, but $50, that is nothing
It is.
to be able to provide all the stuff that you guys are providing.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's insane.
And that's one sponsorship.
Yep.
I mean, that's so. I mean, that's one way in which somebody could say, hey, we could $50 a month. That's just a few times. I mean, that's literally not taking your family out for dinner one time.
No.
Yeah, literally for me, that is just not going out to eat with the entire family.
And that's
Yeah.
Culver's.
That's,
Yeah.
exactly.
Even McDonald's, for crying out loud now.
We were
Like,
okay. So just this, perspective. Just took my kids. It was after church this last week. We're beat. We've had an incredibly long weekend, and we stop at the McDonald's drive-thru to get the kids something to eat. I didn't even get food for myself, for my wife. $20.
Oh, easy.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
Now just
Easy.
double that once, and all of a sudden you've got everything a kid's going to need for an
Right.
entire semester of school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So sponsorships are vitally important. And so how can somebody sponsor a child? Where somebody's watching today, where do they go?
Outpourkids.org.
Outpourkids.org.
Outpourkids.org, and they can see
So we'll drop that in the link
pictures.
down
Yeah.
below.
Fantastic.
When we put this together.
They can see pictures. They can actually click on one if they would.
So you actually get to see like the child you are sponsoring?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
absolutely. They can pick them out. Different ages, sizes, birth dates.
Wow.
Some are frowning, some are really cute and cheesy, and normally those are the ones taken right away.
Right?
But those frowning ones, they're the ones that need us even more.
Oh,
I think.
for sure. Yeah, right. But they all attach to your heart when you get there.
Absolutely.
And that's another way in which people can actually support this
Yeah.
is we have mission trips. So you're supporting a child. You'd love to go see this child. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways in which you can go
Yeah.
work at the school. There's always construction projects going on. Maybe you're in the medical field.
Yep.
There's all sorts of ways in which you can go. And that actually helps support the mission as well.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah. It spreads the word. It gets more people like looking at us and seeing, hey, this is kind of cool what they're doing. So
If you wanted to build a building for roughly $60,000,
you could own a kindergarten room.
you could own a kindergarten classroom.
How cool would that be?
Wouldn't that-
We can
that'd be
name
fun.
it after you.
Right, yeah.
Matt Parker's kindergarten classroom.
Whoa.
Hey, sign them up for 2.
You know what? Yeah. You know what? When I get that 60 grand,
All right.
you'll be the first one to have it.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice. No, there's people out there that could probably write that check today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They really are. And God, here's the amazing thing is that there are people who do and are very generous and give
Yeah.
that type of money. And then there's people that, you know what? We said $50 a month is easy to do. And for a lot of us it is, but there's other people that's pretty strapping.
It is.
And so $10 a month.
Yeah.
And this is the amazing part of God. God's economy works such as this, is that he'll take what you have and he just makes it work
He runs with it.
and makes it work. And so anything that people can give towards this, I think is huge. And it's, again, making such an impact on people's lives, especially there in Haiti. So, yeah. Jenn
Exciting stuff.
Douma,
Exciting stuff.
I am so glad you're with us today.
All right. Glad to be here.
Glad you're my friend.
Fun stuff. Hey,
It's
back
fun.
at you, man.
To be around Jenn Douma, because you never know what God's going to do next.
Whatever's
in
going to
her
come
life.
out of her mouth.
That too.
Yeah. And I love your transformation. I love your honesty. I love your transparency and how you share that story, because I guarantee you there's people watching today that are going through some of the things that you've
Sure.
gone through.
Sure.
And I hope they find the hope that you found.
Yeah.
And if they don't, man, really seek God in that.
Yeah.
If you don't have that hope, seek God, because God can do amazing things in you, through you. It impacts His kingdom. It impacts yourself. It impacts so many other people. And just let God do that. So thank you, Jenn Douma,
Yes,
for
sir.
being here today.
Thank you, guys.
Is there anything that we, right now, one last thing for Operation Outpour, what it would be? One thing, one request.
Oh. Normally quiet and speechless. Oh, I just want to be able to reach more kids.
Let's reach more kids. We're going to do that. Let's sponsor kids.
Yeah.
Sponsor a kid. Let's build that building because they need it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and pretty soon those primary kids, guess what? They're going to need a secondary school.
So-
and that's a whole nother ball.
whole another wing on the building.
mean, another whole thing there.
And not even just another building, another teacher.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Staff.
You got to staff.
Staff.
You gotta staff
important.
everything. We'll have another bathroom building because you can't have like the little kids and the bigger kids. I mean, think of putting together like elementary, middle, and high school sharing one bathroom. That's a no-go.
Not going to happen.
So we've got big dreams and goals and visions, and I know God He'll see it all.
He will.
happen.
He will.
He will.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Jenn Douma.
Absolutely.
Look forward to the future with you. And hey, thank you for stopping in. If you would love to subscribe, we would love for you to subscribe. Maybe put it that way.
We would love.
We would love for you
If
to
you're
subscribe.
enjoying this content,
Please
you have to subscribe.
Is this how I should sign off? Because I don't watch enough
You know what? dude?
podcasts
I'm going to write a script for you one of these days.
That would be
I'm
awesome.
going to put it right here behind me. That way you can look over and be like, oh, there it is. Thanks.
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe. Share this on Facebook,
subscribe,
Instagram,
all these
email
things.
all your friends this.
All of the above.
Text the link. I don't care how you do it. Ring the little notification
Just
bell.
do it.
Oh, the notification bell. I just heard about this.
Yes.
So if you push the little notification bell beside the subscribe button, when we have content come out, bing.
It notifies you.
Seriously.
I mean, everybody's got YouTube on their phone now.
Yeah.
So their phone will go, bing. And you'll be like, oh.
Oh, the point, the casting point has something coming up.
Awesome.
So, anyway, love you guys, and we will see you later. In with us again. This is episode number 3.
It did a thing. You gotta restart that intro. I'm gonna cut that out. Or I'll leave it in because it's hilarious. We'll see.
Restart.
Smiles all around.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2,